Hello and welcome or welcome back. Today I am doing another ink review video. This one is going to be by Endless Alchemy and it is a special color called Spectral Orange. It was a Cult Pens, I believe it is specific or one of their like specials. It's not, I don't know if you can get this on the Endless Alchemy website or not, but it's really pretty orange and I wanted to try it out, so I got it. So let's go ahead and open this and take a look. I like to save my boxes for storing these inks so that the sunlight doesn't fade them. Alright, so I did put this back in upside down. So here is the paper. It's a like a swatch card that they give you with the pens, or sorry, with the inks that you purchase. Put that out of the way. On the back there, the reason I turned it over, there's like a special code and everything so you can register your ink. Yeah, anyway, let's see here. It's got, okay, so it comes like with this foam insert and there is a rubber stopper in here and it gets shipped with this stopper so that it doesn't leak in transit. And then I just replaced the cap. It comes with the cap separate, so you put the cap on for your own like display and storage, but the rubber stopper is how it was shipped. Alright, and this is what the orange looks like. It is a shimmery orange. It's got the shimmers down at the bottom there. And let's see here. Here it is. And this has got this cork that it sits on so that it can sit upright for display purposes. And then when you're going to use it, you can place it like this so it's tilted, and that way you can get the ink out easier, and this spins around like that. Anyways, I'm going to shake this up to disperse the shimmers, and let's see, doesn't say anything else on there. Okay, this is a pretty good size bottle and box, very nice. I like Endless Alchemy's bottles. I like all the different bottles. So I'm not trying to say I want all the ink companies to start making these bottles. I like how some companies have specific bottles to them, and I like having the variety. And this is really unique. It's got a rounded bottom here, you can see, so that way when you set it down, it tilts. So it becomes a easier to use ink pot. It's angled so you can get your pen in there and get the ink easier. But then they also give you these cork boards so that you can display them standing up, mostly upright. This one's a little bit shallow, but anyway, you get the idea. So what I do is, if you're new, is I swatch these inks on an ink card here, and then we'll also do a couple different kinds of paper. I use regular copy paper, HP32 paper, and Tomo River paper so that we can see some of the different properties of the ink. Some inks have some properties that show up better on the different papers, and so I'll try to capture that those different properties by swatching it on the different papers. Alright, there's a bit of fuzz in there. Alright, so let's see here. Here's the papers. And first we're going to start by swatching it on this card. Now with shimmer inks, you're going to want to stir them or shake them as you use them to get the shimmers dispersed nicely. So I'm going to open this real quick, and then we will just get some ink on here and make this swatch card. And then I try to put the ink a little bit heavier on one side so that if there are any special effects that might show up in thicker ink, like on one side, like if you lay the ink down heavier, hopefully that'll capture that. Okay, there we go. Alright, I wash this off. And then we will write the name. And then again, because of the shimmers, I'm going to just go ahead and shake it up again. Normally when you're using it as you're writing, you could put this in a smaller ink pot or something so you can stir it up easily, or you could just stick this in there and stir. It looks like it's shallow enough that that would work. Let me just try. Yeah, it's shallow enough to stir it, I guess, but not I don't know, I don't like getting the ink everywhere. Okay, so Spectral orange. Yeah, it's gotta get on my fingers. This is a very vibrant orange. It's Endless Alchemy. All right, I'll clean this off. And the reason I'm cleaning it off is I want to make sure there's as few variables as possible between each of the swatches. Okay, and so now what we'll do is I will put this swatch off to the side and we'll let that dry. But this is how it's going so far. And this is very, very vibrant, very bold orange color, very pretty, very unique from the other orange that I've tried. It looks like I got some speckles on the paper from something. Oh, you know what? That's probably from the box. Okay, so the next thing we're going to test is this copy paper. This is cheap, regular copy paper that you can get anywhere. Some inks perform just fine on this, so it's always good to test. Also, if you see an ink that has some fun, special properties, maybe, you know, sheening or something, and you want to have that property when you write with the ink, it may or may not work on this paper, so that's why we always test. That way you can see what it's really going to look like, and then when you go to buy the ink, you'll know more or less what to expect. Alright, so let's go ahead and draw swirls. I will say that most of the shimmer inks show up just fine on this type of paper. It's not, you know, the shimmers almost always show up just fine. It's the other properties like the shading and the sheen and everything else. Those are the properties that tend to perform better on nicer paper. All right. And please excuse my terrible handwriting. Copy paper. I really ought to do something about this handwriting. Do some slow lines here. Looks like there might actually be some shading coming through on this. Interesting. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I'm just looking up close. Okay, the shimmers obviously come through, at least for me. I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up. It looks like there might be some shading on this orange. I'm not 100% sure. When this dries, we'll be able to tell a little bit better how the ink looks. I always let it dry a little first. There we go. And the next we're going to try HP32 paper. If you've never tried this before, this is just fancier copy paper. It's a little bit thicker. It has a nice smooth surface to write on, so it feels nice when you write. But I think that smooth surface also slows down the drying of the ink slightly, and so what happens is the ink has time to show off its properties before it fully dries. Whoops, I just splashed some ink because I was not paying attention to what I was doing. Alright, well, this ink went everywhere. I didn't put the cap on all the way when I shook it. I knew this was bound to happen eventually. Alright, let's try that again with the ink with the cap actually on this time. I do not want to get this everywhere like I am getting. Well, one of the things about fountain pen inks is that you have to come to terms with the fact that your hands are going to be a mess. Let me just make sure that the shimmers are in there. There we go. Okay, let's try that again. Oops, I got it on the cork. Well, now we'll know which cork this goes to, which bottle this cork goes to. Alright, I might have to pause this and wash my hands after this, but let's get this done at least. Alright. So this paper is definitely smoother with this ink, for sure. It's noticeable. I'd say it pretty much is always noticeable, but some of the inks really flow nice on this paper. Maybe I should just use that rubber stopper that they sent. I don't know. This is HP 32. Okay, then we'll do some slow lines. Okay, there we go. And if there are any other colors you'd like to see me review, leave a comment and let me know. I'd love to try out some of your suggestions. All right, so there is some shading. It does look like it's slightly more of a yellowy color down here that goes up to an orange. And of course the shimmers are nice. I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to pause this real fast so I can clean up this disaster before I spread orange ink everywhere. And I will be right back. Just a moment. And we're back. All right, so things are a little bit better now. Let me grab the Tomo River paper, which is this one. And this paper, if you've never used it before, is very, very thin. It feels almost like tracing paper. And it really shows off different properties of the ink that you can't get on the cheaper papers sometimes. So let's go ahead and stir this a little bit less aggressively. See if I can mix up those shimmers without making a huge mess. I have a feeling that this cap just, there's something going on. Okay, anyway, crisis averted for the moment. Let's go ahead and, there we go. Get some swirls going. And this paper is also very, very smooth, like the HP 32 paper. And the ink really likes to pool on top of it, so you can get some really neat effects. Okay. We'll do some slow lines and see if we get any different effects or shading. And also I noticed the shimmer on this one doesn't seem to be too crazy. There are some inks I've tried where the shimmers were so intense that they almost covered the actual color of the ink. It was like the shimmer was the most important thing and the color of the ink was secondary. Some of the other inks I've tried, it was the other way around, where the shimmers were there as a nice accent, but really the focus was on the color of the ink. And it looks like this might be one of those where the focus is really on the beauty of the color of the ink itself, and then you've got the shimmer as like an accent instead of the shimmer taking center stage, so to speak. Okay, put this in here, put this cap back on. See if this, okay, does it leak? Doesn't seem to be leaking. Okay, maybe it was something I did. All right, so we'll set that aside for the moment. Well, actually, you know what? We can set it here so you guys can see it. All right. So this still needs to dry here. Yeah, that looks good. All right. And we'll get the other two. So this is a copy paper and this is the HP 32. So the orange color on this paper looks a little more flat other than the sparkles. You do see the sparkles in this. This one though, this is definitely a situation where the shimmer is just an accent. It's not the main focus of the ink because the shading and the depth of color in this ink on this paper is so nice. You don't even need the shimmer. But it's there and it's very pretty. And then of course on the Tomo River, it's the same as this, but more dramatic, but it's still drying. So we'll give that a second. What I'm gonna do is, here's the swatch. Well actually the swatch, it's almost fully dry. I'm gonna pause real fast, set this in front of a fan for a moment. We'll come back and talk about the color. Be right back. All right, so I give the swatch a little bit of time under the fan to dry. And I do not know if the camera's picking this up, but you can really see the shimmer, but it's not overpowering all the properties of the ink. And this ink definitely shifts from like an orange to like almost a pink. And then there it is in the writing. So you do get some kind of like a range of color, even though it's just orange. It's subtle and it's noticeable, so it makes the color look very, very rich and very beautiful. And we're gonna look at these under a light because, especially since it's a shimmer ink, you're gonna really, the light really seems to help. Okay, so there. You see how that's really shimmery? And we'll try to get the, see in the writing, the shimmer does come out even when you write with it, so you don't have to, it's not just the swatch. And then let's try these. I'm gonna spread this out a little bit. And we'll see if we can pick up, see the shimmer, that's the copy paper on the left. The shimmers really show up nice. HP 32 paper, also very good with the shimmers. And then of course Tomo River paper, everything shows up nice. You've got, we can look at these without the light on them as well. So on the Tomo River paper, you see more a variation of color on this paper. But honestly, the HP 32, I really like the very subtle shading. And just, I like how it looks on both of these. You could really use this on any paper, just fine. But, you know, there's no, double checking out, there's no feathering at all on the copy paper that I can see. There's really nothing. So this would perform very well on every type of paper, I think. And then you just see a little bit extra on these nicer papers. So yeah, this is a great ink. Other than my bottle or me not putting the cap on, whatever happened. But yeah, this is beautiful ink. You can check my links down below. I might have something down there. It was through Cult Pens, so they might be the only place you can get that color if you like that color, but it's beautiful. And of course you get the fun shaped bottle with a stand and everything, and which are really fun display bottles and very unique. So give it a try, and thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I'll see you all soon.